Alright, today's video is going to be on quality education in Brazil. This is part of the 17 SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. This one specifically is number 4, so we're going to be learning about quality education in Brazil, some things that hinder it, and some things that will improve it. So we're going to start with what contributes to lack of quality education. Some of the factors that will lead to not so great education are underpaid teachers, a lack of funding, locational challenges, lack of schools, classroom bullying, and language barriers. I think specifically a thing that we're going to focus on today is that location challenges. That tends to be a big one, as well as lack of funding. This leads to underpaid teachers, a lack of resources, and things like that. So those are big ones. Classroom bullying can be a factor where kids don't feel safe going to school. A lack of schools, especially in remote locations again, and then also language barriers. Sometimes this can also mean literacy barriers where students aren't able to quite understand the material due to language barriers and things like that. So moving on, here's a chart here, our world in data. It talks about the number of adults with no formal education by region. Now, this is specifically filtered to Brazil and the United States. And what this data story tells us is that over time, thankfully, quality education seems to be something that is getting higher and higher. People are getting education more and more as time goes on. And comparing Brazil to the United States, actually, you see that they follow a similar trend. Now, of course, this graph does predict future projections, but this is based on the data that we've had over the last 100 years. So starting with the 1950s, you'll see that around 15 million people in Brazil had no formal education, which was pretty high. And then you see that even more people over time around the 80s had no formal education. But around the 80s, much like the United States, throughout the 2000s and now in the 2020s, you see that quality education is happening more and more. And so there are less and less adults that have no formal education. And by 2100, it expects to be very, very little people have no formal education. So it's very hopeful, and that we seem to be doing a good job at getting quality education around the world. All right, next up are some things that we can do to better use IT in Brazil's education. The first one is better online education. The specific one, better internet connections in remote locations, more remote learning, funding, things like that will directly impact the better online. Some other things that will help is higher quality teaching, so giving more funding for teacher pay and more education for teachers. This can be through online or through more funding for online resources and things like that. For remote learning, that will help quite a bit. There are also adult learning opportunities, so more remote learning for adults. This could include more funding for secondary scholarships for people who are still working to be able to take online classes, or even traditional and trade school collaboration, where you are seeing this more and more, where traditional schooling is offering trade learning, and this can be done, and they can utilize IT to help that, and international help as well. Of course, this is going to be done. A lot of these meetings can be done online. You could also do more foreign exchange students, but I think a great way of doing international impact is to do remote learning sessions between countries. I think that's something that would be really good. Next up are some solutions for better education. So this includes further inclusion of technology, community involvement, better teaching conditions, strong student-centered environment, and higher funding. All of these could use technology to improve them, but I think the further inclusion of technology is the most, where if you directly improve the technology conditions, all of these other ones will have a greater impact. So these are some of the things that can be done to improve education in Brazil. And that's all I have for you, so thank you for listening.